Okay, 1 second. Here we go. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a phenomenal guest with us, one who we're very humbled to have with us, who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the amazing artist himself, Brother Baatin Muhammad. First of all, assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
This means a lot to us, to myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast. Since I've been in Atlanta, you've been doing an amazing job. Oh my goodness. Okay, yes, sir. You've been doing an amazing job on your on your interviews. On your performances. And now people are texting me right now about this. Tuning in right now. I'm gonna get that. I'm fixing that, y'all, on the show. But now we get to hear the man behind the music. But let's start with the music, sir. How did you first get a love for music?
Well, I growing up in Hawkinsville, Georgia, we had a piano in the house. And so as a little boy, 3, 4, 5 years old, I would just sit down and bang on the piano. And
yes, sir.
And my grandmother played a little bit. Of course, my grandfather was a violinist. And so anyway, my grandmother would play. She had her own original songs and everything.
Yes, sir.
And so I used to just sit down and try to figure certain things out, and used to play this little thing we called the boogie woogie. And
okay.
Which is really basically 12-bar blues format. And so one day there was a man that came to our house. He was a blind man. And he sit down and he played for us. And I never will forget, that was really, I think, my first real inspiration that made the light turn on my head that, I would like to do that. And so from that point on, my level of concentration toward the instrument became much more profound and intense.
Yes, sir.
And I began to learn how to play, basically teaching myself.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love and sending you the greetings in the comments as well. Thank you all for watching. Alaikum salam. Yes, sir. Okay, so once you learn how to play, how did you know that you were good? Like, when did you know that you were good?
Well, I don't know if I'm good now.
Oh no, you're amazing, bro.
It's interesting because, like I said, that was 5 when I was 8 years old. My mother took me she gave me piano lessons. We used to drive to Cordele, Georgia from Hawkinsville every Saturday morning. And I took piano lessons, formal piano lessons.
Yes, sir.
But of course, I was still playing my boogie woogie. Yes, and so eventually what happened, by the time I got to, I think it was the 8th grade, I was in the 8th grade, and we formed a band in Hawkinsville, and a blues band, a rhythm and blues band. And I never will forget, at that time, I was playing, after I took my piano lessons, and my piano teacher told my mother that I should also take up the saxophone. So I was playing saxophone in the concert band, but in the marching band, I played baritone saxophone, which, if you know anything about a bari sax, it's big. That's a big horn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And the bari sax normally plays the bass part of the music in the band. And so the first band we had, I actually was playing the bass on the bari sax, a lot like what you see today. You see these New Orleans second line bands,
Yes,
and
sir.
they have
Yes,
the
sir.
big sousaphone, they have the
Yes,
tuba
sir.
up there. I was playing that same part, but I was playing it with a baritone saxophone. Okay. And so what happened was that, so I would learn all of the bass lines on the bari sax. And so we had then we got a organ player, and so he started playing the bass on the organ with his left hand and playing the chords on the right hand. And so so I started playing my alto sax again. And then he left, and when he left, well, since I could play keyboards too, I naturally went on and started playing the organ. And
Yes,
then I was and playing the organ, was playing the bass and the organ parts. And I could listen to the music, and I could figure out how to play the bass lines, and I could figure out how to play the organ part. So I was like two people at once in the band.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I never really thought about me being good. I was just having such a good time and really enjoying the experience of making and listening to music. I never really thought of it, as me being good or being aware. I was aware of the fact, though, that, I was doing something that I really had not seen in the other people, in my environment do. So I guess maybe you could say that in 8th grade, 13. And I started doing my first gigs when I was like 13 years old.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we used to play at this place in Warner Robins, Georgia, which is where Otis Redding is actually from.
Yes, sir.
And it was called the House of Soul. And so that was just one of those magical times. But like we was young, and what happened is that the police used to do a lot of raids for underage people being in these clubs. And so playing in the club, my mother knew I was playing because we had an adult chaperone. And
Yes,
so this one night they came in, they raided the club, and they took at least half of the people to jail. But they didn't bother us because we were with the band, so we were exempt. So they liked us at that point. So I guess when people start saying they like you and they start paying money to see you, then I guess you can consider yourself at least good enough to do that. But I was, I had a paper route. I get in at 3 o'clock in the morning from playing the gig, and then I go right down to pick my papers up at 5 and do my paper route. So it was an interesting time. And all of that time, I was like 13, 14 years old.
Yes, sir. All praise due to Allah. Wonderful. Now, Brother Baatin, what advice would you give to creatives in general, whether it be actors, musicians, painters, artists, who about pursuing their dream? You've been doing this since you were 13. What advice would you give to people about staying consistent and pursuing their dreams?
Well, I would say make sure that you get the fundamentals, that you understand the fundamentals, and you work on the fundamentals. There is no substitute for learning your craft. And the only way you will ever really thoroughly learn a craft such as music or theater, whatever it is, you've got to embrace those fundamentals.
Yes, sir.
And that's really, you do that and formulate in your mind what you want. What do you want to get out of this profession? What do you want to do? And set goals, set realistic goals, and proceed. Practice, if it's whatever it is, practice it. Practice your craft. Engage yourself with your craft. communicate with your craft, you see. And that's what I would say. Do that, and don't be victimized by mediocrity. Just because you see somebody else slacking, that don't mean that you should slack. You know, create your own high standards and work hard and be honest, be men and women of integrity. You know, and that takes you a long way with anything that you do in the art or in the corporate world, anything. I'll get your fundamentals down, stick to your guns.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, speaking of the fundamentals and, you know, the fundamentals of life, when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
That's a nice question. Actually, my mother used to, we were in Hawkinsville, a small town about 40 miles from Macon, Georgia, and real small town, I might add. And we would go, my mother would go to Macon to shop. And so when we would go to Macon, the brothers would be on the street with the Muhammad Speaks. This is like the 60s. And so she would buy the paper occasionally. And I never will forget one time we came home from Macon and we parked into the front yard of our house. And so she opened the paper up and she saw the thing on the Muslim program, what the Muslim believe. It says that we do not believe that the point on where integration is a false trick to make us think that our 400-year-old enemy have all of a sudden turned around to be our friend. And I never will forget, Mama said, she said, now you know that's right, you know. And so that kind of opened my mind up. And that was as a little boy. But growing fast forward, and I was in college at Mercer University in Macon. It was around the summer of 1974. I started playing in a band with a gentleman by the name of Anthony Dorsey. And Anthony Dorsey was, he was a big time band leader and arranger. He arranged a lot of the stuff you hear from like the Delphonics and all of that soul stuff from the 70s and 60s. He actually arranged all of that stuff. But he also was the band leader for Joe Tex. Joe Tex, which was a minister under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so being Joe Tex's band leader, he had a certain amount of, you know, closeness and affinity. And the Islam that Brother Joe was exhibiting, it kind of rubbed off on Bone. And so Bone, that's what we called him, Bone, because he played trombone. Tony Bone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so when Bone would come to pick me up for the gig, and he noticed that I was staying in this apartment building with a bunch of white guys, but these were musicians. And I must say, these were some monster musicians. These white boys, these were some bad white. It wasn't just, you know, no country western crap. You know what I mean? These boys could really play, you know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And, but Bone said, man, I got to get you away from these white folks. You know, and then all of a sudden he started talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you know, and he wasn't in the nation, but he was really following, just like a lot of our people. We followed the teachings, but we don't, you know, we're not ready to quite get into the mosque. So yes, that was the first time. And then that fall, the minister in Macon, brother, you know Brother Sabir, who's with the West End.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was in Macon at that time. He was Brother Hubert, and so I was with the black student at Mercer, and we had a meeting of the black students where the nation came to talk to us. And brother Hubert, brother Sabir, he came, and I never will forget. I said, man, I'm gonna tell this guy something. I'm gonna let him know what the real truth is. And everything that I said to him, he had an answer. And man, he just balled my little ego up and threw it in the corner. And it wasn't nothing that I could do but accept, because he was right. And I thank Allah that I had enough sanity to not reject something that I knew was right. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I mean, he had just made it so clear. And so Allah, from that point on, he began to send several angels to me to gradually bring me from that world, of music, into Islam. And finally, I met in the first part of 76, and actually I had accepted back in, what was it? Well, no, actually what it was, I went to my first meeting. Right before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed. And pretty much agreed, but man, I wasn't ready to join on at that particular time.
Yes, sir.
But after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad departed and the Imam came, and that next year, I met a brother named Shakur Al-Nur. Now, if you look at Savior's Day 1981, you see a real brother sitting there. He had the thick glasses, real dark skin, beautiful black brother. Shakur would actually end up being the first minister, the first regional minister here in Atlanta under Minister Farrakhan. And actually, and it was really interesting that I had met Shaka right the first part of 76, and he was actually trying to uphold the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad even back then, even when the minister was still with the Imam. And so I kind of came under his wing. And another brother by the name of Sumai Muket. These brothers, they just embraced me. They brought me in. They taught me. They taught me from a mentor protege standpoint.
Yes,
where
sir.
I got personal one-on-one training. Brother Shaka used to come and spend weeks at a time with me. We'd be in the Krispy Kreme donut shop in the middle of the morning, 2 o'clock, and I'm having FOI class. And so it was a wonderful thing. And so we was wondering, we were saying, man, we would see certain things that was happening, and then we would always go and try to lend our support to whatever activist was involved at that particular time. And we were saying to ourselves, man, who is gonna stand up? We was wondering, was Ali, was Muhammad Ali, was he gonna stand up? And then we said, Farrakhan, what about Farrakhan? Is Farrakhan gonna stand up? And so what happened is that we didn't know what was going. It didn't seem like nothing was gonna happen until one day in September 1977, I was coming home from the health food store in Macon, and I heard the Mutual Black Network News. It's a syndicated Black news network.
Yes, sir.
Castleberry out of Birmingham, Alabama. He said today, Minister Louis Farrakhan vowed that he would re-embrace the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he was ready to work with anybody that wanted to do so. Man, I immediately got home and I called Brother Shaka and I said, man, Farrakhan stood up. And so he immediately got on the horn and he made the connection, with the minister. And next thing we know, the minister was in Atlanta. And so we were actually this is just a matter of fact, we was the first we was the first to stand up in the southern region. I've got a picture now, Brother Sylvester and myself, we're the only ones that's really left. Where Brother Horace was around then, but actually it was originally, I was the one that called Brother Shaka. And then we, Shaka, myself, and Brother Sylvester, we used to hang out when I would come from Macon. I was in Macon coming to Atlanta. And so anyway, the minister stood up, and pretty much the rest is history as far as Atlanta is concerned. But what happened with me is that I was still in Macon. And so I would come up to Atlanta to the study group. We used to have the study group right off of, not too far from where the Blue Seas restaurant was, off of, I don't know what it was called Simpson then. I forgot. It's Donald Howell.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Sir. Yes, sir.
All right. And so it was a place called Chestnut Street. And so we would come up. I would be in my mother's car, and I would get my mother's car, and then I had another brother, Brother Wesley Muhammad, who actually moved to Tampa subsequently. But we got to the point where we would bring a bunch of people up from Macon every week to the study group at that time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we got to the point where there was more, it was more people from Macon that we had brought up than from Atlanta. And so at that point, Shaka's told me, he said, well, brother, you need to go ahead on and get something started independently down there. And so that was the beginning of what is known now as Mosque number 93 with Brother Student Minister Darrell. And so I was the student minister in Macon for the first 10 years of the minister standing up.
I didn't know
I was at the first laborers meeting we ever had in Chicago, Chicago Hilton. And matter of fact, there was a plane crash the same day that we had that meeting. Man, I remember all the first ministers class that the minister had, national ministers class. And so yeah, man, oh man, you push a button when you start talking about when did I hear the teachings, and that's where I just basically got my chops. See, I never aspired to be a minister, because like I said, at that point I was more known as a musician. But Allah inspired me to put my music aside. I stopped playing music from 1980 to about 1987. I didn't do any public performance at all, because I was helping Minister Farrakhan rebuild the Nation of Islam in Macon, Georgia. And that's really my first love, talent, my talent, I thank Allah for it, you know what I mean? But my first love is the word of God, brother. And people always see me and say, yeah, there's the musician, all right, musician, Allah blessed me with talent. I put food on the table. I got a nice house, drive a couple of nice cars. You know what I mean? I ain't doing bad. I could do better. I like to do a little better, but I'm just saying I ain't straining for nothing. But it's all from the love of the word. And I never aspired really to be a minister, but once I got thrust into that position, I can see what the prophet meant when he saw the desert Arabs, and the desert Arabs, he said, the desert Arabs said to him, they said, "Oh prophet, we believe." And the prophet said, "Say not that you believe, say that you submit. for faith have not entered into your heart. And so so my thing was, I was not in that mold of a minister, but I submitted to that role. And as I submitted to that role, I automatically became closer and closer to Allah. And being in this, being the role of the student minister is such a wonderful and such a sacred role, because when you are in the ministerial seat, it's almost like having a seat on the 50-yard line of a football game.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, see, your perspective, you find what I'm saying, is more comprehensive. You know, you got a more balanced perspective of everything, and it leaves you, and it allows you to grow in a very profound way.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, and so, man, I ain't mean to just bogart you like that, but that's a very important thing in my life. You know, Islam, like I said, music, I love music, man, but Islam, you know, Allah, Hu Akbar.
Oh,
you know, music thing, and see, that's the problem right now. A lot of the music is really devoid of the real spirit of Allah. See, people out here trying to entertain, you know, just like the Bible talks about the prodigal son. You know what I mean? How he was trying to entertain, and he fed the swine, and the feeding of the swine means that you're trying to appeal to the lower desires of the people that you're trying to entertain. And that's where a lot of people go off, you know, they do anything to get a laugh, anything to get a clap, instead of just really, as I was saying earlier, to strive to perfect your fundamentals. You see. And even in the ministry, you know, your fundamentals. You know, the Honorable Mr. Min Farrakhan, I remember saying the very first ministers class he had, the national ministers class, he said you have 3 things as a minister that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told me. He said you have to have the right motives. He said you have to beware of the enticing beauty of women. You follow what I'm saying? And then you have to be careful of poverty. So you get those things together. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because all of these things will really, if you got poverty, then you're preaching for money. You follow what I'm saying? And then if you let all of the pretty girls and the women get to you, then you begin to make associates with Allah, whether you say it or realize it or not. And then your motives, then that's the most fundamental of all of the principles. You got to be there for the right reason, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? Yes, sir.
Beautiful. All praise due to Allah. Well, my bad, brother minister. This whole time I've known you since I've been in Atlanta. I just knew you had the guitar. You know, you killed on the guitar and the musicians. I never knew the ministry. That was before my time. I didn't know. Yes, sir. Brother Robin says, Brother Baatin is one of the best Dianetic auditors in our nation. Khadija Kareem says, all praises to Allah. Brother Robin says, the one and only student minister, Baatin Muhammad, one of the greatest human beings that he's met in his life. He loves you. Super talent. My sister Naima says, all praises to Allah. So Khadija Kareem says, amen, brother. All praises to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody, who continues to show love to Brother Minister Baatin on Facebook, and I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Okay, my next question, sir, is being in those early days around the Muslim Mr. Farrakhan, what are some of the things that you picked up on in the ministry, like as far as your ministry? What are some of the things that you learned?
Oh man, I could go on and on. I can go on and that. Well, one of the things that comes to mind was just his style of leadership. If anybody, if you are lucky enough to talk to anybody that was under Brother Shaka, which you are lucky because you can talk to Brother Sylvester and he will bear witness with me. You can bear witness that this is one of the most disciplined, hardcore Muslims, and who believed in training. I mean, and he was really, I mean, this brother was just, he was very rigid. I mean, this man was like stone. He was like iron, brother. And the minister loved him. You see, and so he, you know, he was hard, man. And he exemplified some of the things it says in the Quran and say, man, if your speech is too harsh, that the people will disperse. In other words, you would run people away from that. And so the minister picked up on that, and the minister, see, the minister in the early days, you know, he would come to Atlanta, and I mean, that was one stretch where the minister, it wasn't no minister after Shaka left. And so the minister, he said, well, I'm going to be the minister. The minister came here every week. He would come here every week. And then, and after and he would speak over at the Phyllis Wheatley YMCA over on the campus of Morris Brown College.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so he said his thing was he was stressing, the minister. He said, you know, brother, we have to have a new form of leadership today. And we have to put the brothers and put the people first. And I remember there was a brother that was real quick. He wanted to call some, and I ain't gonna call no name, but some national people, and you know who I'm talking about. I mean, you know the people, you don't know who I'm talking about, but you know these people that he was calling a hypocrite. And so the minister got us all together in the hotel room after he had talked. He said, well, brother, he said, you know, this brother does certain things that are hypocritical. He said, that brother there does things that are hypocritical. And he pointed out to another, he said, these brothers do things. He said, but that don't mean that they're hypocrites. Just because you do things that are hypocritical. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir,
he
yes,
said
sir.
that, he said, now, when a person, hypocrisy becomes manifest, you follow what I'm saying? Which he meant that when his hypocrisy establishes a distinct pattern.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then and only then can you say that. And as it reference the Quran said, the Quran says, judge by that which have been revealed by Allah and the messenger.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I remember that because, you know, a lot of times, Brother Josh, you know, we as Muslims, we are very quick to judge. And the Bible said, be slow to judge.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we see hypocritical tendencies, and we want to label this particular person as a hypocrite, but we have to be careful, because if you accuse somebody falsely of something, then the punishment that would be due to that person, were he guilty, now this punishment has to come on you. You have to bear the weight of this false accusation. So yes, that's one thing that really stood out in my mind. And then just the resilience, the tenacity, the minister's staying power, how he would travel. And that's one of the reasons why Brother Jabril named his column Farrakhan the Traveler.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's because the minister traveled so many miles. He'd come to Atlanta. He had just came from LA. He would crisscross the country And I remember back during the time, the first run for president of Jesse Jackson, 1984, and the minister, and which incidentally, see, back in those days in the early 80s, if the minister was within 700 miles of here, 500 to 700 miles of Atlanta, brothers from Atlanta would be, you know, we would be right there. You know, that's where, I think that's where I first met your father, you know, because it was him and I forget the other brother, brother Akil is his
yes,
name?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. And so we were noticing how steadfast the minister was. And I remember when Jesse Jackson, when he started running, and the minister would kind of open up for Jesse on these big campaign rallies. And I never would forget, a couple of things happened. We were in Tuskegee, Alabama, and the minister was getting ready to speak. We were in Mayor Johnny Ford's office. And brother, let me tell you something. The minister was sick as a dog. I mean, I just, you know, the minister could hardly stand up, brother. And man, we took him to the little hospital medical center they had in Tuskegee, and they gave him a shot. And I never will forget that. I said, man, this man is just really dedicated. And then, and so he got the shot. We went back to the mayor's office. We were sitting there waiting on the rally to start so we could take him over to the arena. And so we was sitting in the mayor's conference room. And so we sent a brother out to get some coffee. And so brother went out and got maybe about 12 cups of coffee. And so at that time, see, with Shaka, with Brother Lewis, Shaka was so, I'm talking about this brother was so strict, you know, we had read something, a report about how sugar was refined. They used blood albumin from slaughterhouses, 70%, which is swine, to refine the sugar. So man, Shaka, if you were around Shaka, you wouldn't eat no sugar. I mean, and so I'm just saying, he had us reading the doggone, we was reading the doggone labels on the doggone sugar. And if sugar was there anywhere, man, I mean, he would just front you out on that sugar. And so, you know, the minister was aware of all of this stuff, right? So anyway, the brother brought the coffee back. Shaka was long gone by this time. But anyway, the brother brought the coffee back. And so we gave the minister his coffee. And then somebody, it might have been Sylvester. I don't want to incriminate Sylvester. But anyway, the brother was saying, okay, y'all didn't get no honey? Anybody got no honey? Because that's what we would eat. We wouldn't eat no sugar, you know, because Shaka see you looking at the ingredient. Shaka said, man, what you trying to do? Read the hog off the thing or something, you know? And so anyway, we were sitting up there and the minister, so we passed the minister his coffee and the minister looked, he was, you know, if you can see me right now, and I was on his shoulder, and he looked up and he looked up at me. He said, brother, I want sugar in my coffee. you know, as if to say, y'all Negroes can be spooky if you want. You know, give me some sugar. You know,
sir. Yes, sir.
You ain't gonna die, you know. And in other words, the minister brought, during those days, a sense of practicality to the practice of the faith.
Yes,
you know
sir.
what I'm saying? Because it's so easy. See, it's easy for us to get spooky You know, but hell, man, when you've been with a mystery god for 66 trillion years, you're gonna get spooky.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and just one read or two reads of message to the black man, the Quran, is not gonna kill you, brother.
Yes, sir.
You follow what I'm saying? See, and so that's, you know, it's a lot in what I'm saying right there, but I'm just saying all that to say that the minister, he corrected a whole lot of bad perceptions, a whole lot of bad concepts in that, don't be calling folks hypocrite. Don't be using that word so loosely, you know. And then on the other hand, you know, look, don't be so doggone rigid. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Because, you know, you just, man, you got to be practical, you see. And another thing that I learned too, and this is one of the things that really gave me so much confidence in the minister, was how he guided us through the turmoil of the transition back from Wallace, you know, from the imam.
Yes, sir.
Right. Because see, believe it or not, one of the first times that the minister came back to Atlanta, he spoke over at Georgia Tech during what would have been, this was Georgia Tech, this was 1978, and it was in the weekend that would have been Savior's Day weekend in February. So the minister was speaking at Georgia Tech. It just so happened that the imam, instead of having Savior's Day, he had something that he called a spiritual jubilee. And he had this particular thing at what used to be called the Atlanta Municipal Auditorium, which is now part of the Georgia State's campus downtown.
Okay.
And so the minister, it was a serious dynamic, because see, at that time, see, me actually living and residing in Macon, so of course I came up to stand post for the minister.
Yes, sir.
But, and Sultan, brother Sultan, SOS band Sultan,
yes, sir.
Me and him was playing in the group together called Third World. Third World was playing an event for the imam. All right. So here I am. I'm on post at Georgia Tech at 2:30 to 4:30, and I leave there to go and play a set for the imam right after that. But see, at that time, I didn't know, Sultan didn't even know that I was with Farrakhan. Because at that time, you had to keep that stuff under wraps, and the minister had guided us in such a way. He said, brother, we got to be real careful. He said, do everything that you can to avoid a fight. See, but now, he said, but now, if they don't give you no choice but to throw down, then you got to throw down. But he was so emphatic, you know, in how he was guiding us. And down in Macon, see, for a long time, I was the only person down there. When the first issue of the Final Call came out, I took all of the papers, brother, 250 papers, and that ain't nobody know nothing about no Farrakhan then. Not in Macon, Georgia. Now they might know a little something in Atlanta, but in Macon, Georgia, they know nothing about no Farrakhan, brother. Yes, and then plus all of the newspaper was selling for 10 cents. All right, so now here I am. I'm trying to sell a paper for 50 cents. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like, you know, all the papers sell for $1 now. I'm asking $5 for mine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You basically had to to preach a sermon to sell a paper. But I thank Allah. I thank Allah so much for that. And I just think about how the minister, how he instructed us, how, you know, when the first issue of the Final Call came out, he gave us, and I never forget, it was written on blue paper. And then he was talking about how Jesus sent the disciples out in pairs. Of course, that didn't apply to me because there wasn't nobody else with me. And then Allah eventually blessed me with a brother whom I had been in college with, Brother Michael, who's in Fort Lauderdale now, who eventually went down. He went ahead, and at one point, right before Minister BR came back, he was the minister in Miami. And so we finally, through the minister's guidance, we were able to avoid confrontation that could have that could have caused bloodshed, brother. Because I'm telling you, during these times that I'm describing to you, where the minister was at Georgia Tech, it was so volatile that you said the wrong doggone thing, them people did not want to hear nothing about no Elijah Muhammad. You know, they thought that they had put Elijah Muhammad to rest, and they was not hearing nothing about bringing Elijah Muhammad back. So it was very touchy, very volatile. And so when the way that the minister guided us through that, and I'm just trying to be as succinct as possible, but the way he guided us through, I said, man, this man is the real deal, you know, and plus, you know, the minister, he just had that presence that just really drew me in. And at that point too, since I was real close with Brother Shaka, I probably was the closest out of the whole region with Shaka, you know what I mean? And so I had a chance to really hang out with the minister, with Shaka, in those early days, in those real foundational days where the minister, you know, you could hear him talking about what happened before 1975 and what needed to happen after 1975 so that we would not repeat the history of the nation falling again.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir.
But forgive my long-windedness, man. But
no, sir. We good, right?
You pushing buttons here today, bro.
Yes, sir. This is what we want. This is what we came for. And thank you very much, Brother Minister. And on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we want to thank you for your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your family. I never knew any of this. I didn't know that you were, holding down since that long by yourself and making. I didn't know any of this. When me and my family came, you was killing. You know what I'm saying? You were playing Slide in the Family Stone.
Yeah. Well, you know, even when you all came, I don't know if you realized, but I was the regional prison minister.
No, definitely didn't know that.
from 2000 to 2010.
No, sir, I didn't know that. No, sir,
yes, sir, brother. We used, man. We did. Allah blessed us so much over there. They had to kick us out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Allah has He's blessed you, brother. Like I said, those are my best memories. And you know, I played with the original P Parliament, Funkadelic, a whole bunch of people. And I love those experiences, but nothing compares to going into the prison. You follow what I'm saying? You look out in the audience and you see Tupac Shakur's father. You follow what I'm saying? And developing a relationship. When I first went to the prison, USP Atlanta, you know, I was a little apprehensive, you know what I mean? I had, as the student minister in Macon, I had went to a few prisons, went to a couple of women's prisons and so forth and so on. But man, this was the big house in Atlanta, maximum security, all of this stuff. And then I had a thought or two, said, man, you got the criminally insane over here. You know what I mean? But gradually, I was able, blessed by Allah, to develop such a relationship with those brothers, to where I was a little, I ain't gonna say timid, but I was just real cautious at first. But then it got to the point, brother, I'd go into that doggone prison and I'd talk to them brothers like they owed me some money. You know? and they loved that, and they responded to that. And those brothers loved me. I was like a father to them. Right. And when we would go, before time was up for them to go back to the cell, brother, they had problems getting them brothers back to the cell. They did not want to leave the meet. And it was, brother, man, we had a love, a very loving relationship. It was almost like when you say you in the theater, you know about Romeo and Juliet.
Yes, sir, of course.
Where they used to say they was in love, you follow what I'm saying? And they would say parting in sweet sorrow.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. That's what they said.
I'm just saying it was that kind of thing. I mean, you know, a manly sweet. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, yeah. But I'm just saying it was sweet and tender love, but it was the love of God established by, you know, by the intention of wanting to go in, because I always felt, I said, man, don't nobody care nothing about no prison. And matter of fact, that was another thing. I didn't ask to be a minister, the prison minister. I was at Khan's bookstore one day, and the white boy come in to buy some black books for the prison. And so he said, man, somebody need to come. He said, somebody need to come out here and teach these prisoners out here from the nation. And so I said, ain't nobody out there? He said, ain't nobody been out here in 8 months or whatever. So I went, brother, student minister Ray was the minister at that time.
Yes, sir.
And so I went back to the brother, student minister Ray. I said, brother, you need to send somebody out there, man. Because I remember how hard it was for me to get into prison when I was a minister in Macon. So for the man to come in, basically telling us that he, you know, inviting us to come in. I mean, that thing blew my mind. So I told brother Ray, and then so brother Ray said, brother, why don't you go out there? And I thought about it for a minute, and so I ended up going out there, and it ended up being one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. You know, and believe me, I've played in front of 75,000 people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, you know what I mean? I played in Europe, Africa. You follow what I'm saying? The Caribbean. Yes, sir. I played somewhere everywhere. You know, and I enjoyed and I love the expression of music. But brother, it ain't nothing like communicating a word from the Creator.
Yes, sir.
You follow what I'm saying? That you can see inspires people. You follow what I'm saying? You know, where you make things clear to them.
Yes, sir.
And they light up. You see? Yes, sir. So yeah, so that's the prison. The prison ministry is a beautiful thing for those. It ain't for everybody, you know, but it's a very wonderful vehicle for ministry.
All praises to Allah. Yes, sir. And so you're getting so much love on Facebook, and can't wait to put this on YouTube. We have a quick 60-second commercial break, Brother Minister, for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast this month. We're starting off March. Happy Savior's Day to everyone that, who's been watching. I just got back from Chicago. Everybody's been dealing with that. If you all like to be a sponsor or a donor, please Cash App the People's Podcast page. Thank you very much. And a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of that. Also, okay, here we go. Boom. My sister Miriam. Hey, okay, brother. Okay, but Miss, you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay, I apologize. The Wi-Fi was acting up a little bit. All right, boom.
As it does.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, boom. We're right back here. Thank everybody for their patience. We're right back with it. Okay, boom, perfect. People was texting me saying they're still watching. We're still live. All right, we have a few more questions for you, Minister, that we definitely have to get, and I want to make sure that I read the comments. Some people showing you love from Facebook, from all over the country. Dr. Henry M. Carter said that he taught in the same prison that you were speaking of. And Sister Khadija said, yes, it's a great interview, outstanding. Some people showing you love, and I cannot wait to put this on YouTube. Okay, here we go. Yes, sir. And you want to get a lot of love once you put this on YouTube as well. Okay, boom. All right, here we go. Very simple. All right, now we got the sponsorships coming up now. Yes, sir. And Minister, we got to talk about Parliament. I'm a huge fan. My mother was a huge fan and put us on to some phenomenal music with them. And of course, everybody you perform with, we got to talk about Otis Redding Jr. or Otis Redding's children so that we can speak about that time as well. All right, here we go. 60-second commercial break. Got it. Share the screen. Okay, the Wi-Fi is going to act right this time. Okay, perfect. For everybody who's watching, if you would like to be a sponsor or donor, please Cash App the People's Podcast. Thank you very much. My brother Rashad, Street Premiere Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book, both of which are available on Amazon. Please get those. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country and right here in the studios in Atlanta, Georgia. Raw Communications. If you're working on a book and you need copy editing, project management, content development, or media relations, please reach out to Raw Communications. Also, Fashion Gods, Urban Streetwear for men and boys, 314-329-6009. Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad out of Austin, Texas. Conflict mediation, squashing the beef throughout the Southwest region. His wife, Sister Fudia Muhammad, Children of the Most High, giving birth to a God in the science of child rearing. Please get that book. Also, Sister Sherry Muhammad, Asiatic Minds, virtual school teaching young kings and queens all across the country virtually. STEM, AsiaticMinds.com. Thank you very much. Also, Power Campus Online Learning. Do you want to improve your homeschooling experience? We're here to help. 770-8470. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. Please reach out to him. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the country. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 disinfecting cleaning services out of Chicago. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Right back to our brother Minister Baatin Muhammad, the amazing musician and student minister as well. Okay, yes, sir. The question that I have for you, sir, is fear. Going into the prisons, being in Macon by yourself. Has there ever been a time where you would face fear? And if so, how have you overcome that fear?
Well, I can say that there might have been a few times that I might have had a little fear, but I never entertained it. See, you have to understand what fear is. Fear is just a picture that you make up in your mind about something that's gonna happen. It ain't happened.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You follow what I'm saying? In Scientology, we call it a mock-up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
See, fear is a mock-up, and I guess I can talk all that stuff now because I've been studying, and that's really my main thing now. Is I do group straight wire auditing with Dianetics and Scientology. The closest thing that I might have had to fear, and it wasn't really that, but I think this incident is worth mentioning.
Yes, sir.
As I was saying, I was the student minister in Macon during the time when Brother Khalid Abdul Muhammad was a minister in Atlanta. You know, Dr. Khalid.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so, you know, I mean, if you know Khalid, you know Khalid, he just was rambunctious,
Yes, sir.
in your face kind of brother. And I wasn't afraid of Khalid, but that was an incident that happened down in Macon. And so a sister felt like her son had been mistreated and was not getting the proper redress for her grievance. So she reached out to me. And so I referred her to Dr. Khalid. And so, man, we ends up, and Dr. Khalid bring about 50 brothers down to Macon, because they said the police chief would not give this sister a hearing. Khalid brought about 50 brothers, and we had about 20 brothers in Macon. So we had a total of about 70 brothers, and we surrounded the police department in Macon.
Mm.
I mean, bro, you should have seen it. I wish I had the wherewithal to take a picture, because
Yes, sir.
the media was there. The media did not say one thing. It wasn't a word. And the police, man, they were scared as hell. All these black men surround, and so we was we was able to get a meeting with the associate or the deputy police chief. And so I'm saying to myself, you know, brother Khalid, I said, man, see, now he come down here talking all this trash, and hell, in a minute or two, you going back to Atlanta. And so you leaving all these people to me, you know what I mean? And so, but I never entertained it. And I remember one time I was at a storage. I had some stuff in the storage warehouse. And so something happened. I asked the man, this old white man, that was the manager. I guess he was the owner. And so something happened, man. The conversation went south. And so he pulls out this knife. And so I looked at him, I said, man, what you plan on doing with that? And so he had a little knife. He said, oh, this? Hand started shaking, and he put the thing back in his pocket. Okay. Showing that the fear, it jumped back into him. It never was really fear with me. And I just, like I say, I can't really think of any real incident of being overcome by fear. I've had some experiences in my life just prior to Islam that were very, very intense in terms of something that could be feared. And I was in a position, now that's a whole nother book there. But Allah forced me into a position where I had to face it. And ain't nothing even got to the threshold of really making me really scared. Because you know, and maybe one day I'm thinking about writing on it or something, an experience that eventually led me to Islam. And there was no escape. Allah, no, you ain't, you gonna face this.
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir.
And so, but that would be the thing that I would say for anybody in a fearful situation, is just fear, confront it. You know, confront your fear. This is what we find in Dianetics and Scientology, is that there are 4 basic things that can really aberrate you.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Or make you crazy, in other words. And the minister says in the study guide, he said, fear restricts, guilt restricts.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Now, but then there's another thing in which, with the 4 devils in the lesson, anger. And then there's another thing, which is a quandary, where you can get hung up in maybe I should do this or maybe I should do that. These things are extremely aberrative, but fear, you see what they do, the thing to do with fear is just to confront it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you fall off of a motorcycle, fall off of a horse, then you can develop a fear of getting on the motorcycle, fear of getting on the horse. So all good therapists will tell you to overcome that, get back up on the horse.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And there is a metaphysical, spiritual law that says when you confront it directly, all of the negative aspects of this incident becomes erased. It becomes canceled out. So you just gotta, that's why I said the fear of Allah is the beginning, you follow what I'm saying,
yes,
of
sir.
wisdom and understanding. But that's the only kind of fear that's really healthy, Everything else you need to confront. Be like John Wayne, the old movie star John Wayne.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
John Wayne said, "Get the hell out of here." Fear, get the hell. And that's what happened to me. Now, when you think about that, I had open heart surgery. Emergency open heart surgery back in 2010. And I never would forget, everybody was more scared than I was. The nurses, everybody was saying, well, I was in the emergency room, and then so they brought back the results of my heart scan and everything, and it just didn't look good. But my thing was like, look, hey, if it's my time, it's just my time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so next thing she knows, she said, well, the helicopter's coming to get you. So I got airlifted from Fayetteville to downtown Atlanta. And it was a trip. When the helicopter landed, I see about 5 people, and all of them, they was dressed in black. And then the lead person had a flashlight, and they came up. And they opened the door to the helicopter, and the lady said, "Mr. Muhammad." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, I got orders to take you straight to the operating room. And so for some reason, man, when you are surrounded by Allah, when you have belief in Allah, I wasn't afraid. I was like I said, I was like John Wayne.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
They was rolling me in the gurney, and I was telling them, I said, man, I feel like John Wayne tonight. He said, I said, you know what John Wayne said, right? He said, John Wayne said, if you ever listen to Richard Pryor, he has a joke about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He said, John Wayne said, death, get the F out of here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so that was my thing. So I'm sitting up. Allah did not even let fear enter anywhere where it should.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And as I laid on the gurney, I said, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I was saying that in a cadence, almost in a beat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Master Farrakhan Muhammad, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And fear just, I just never, fear never entered. But that might be a little bit off the subject, but.
Oh, sir, that's right. That's right on the subject, bro. Minister. Some people showing you love. Sister Nietzsche Taylor says, Allah Akbar. Sister Khadija Kareem says, open heart, praise be to Allah. My sister Naima says, yes, sir. And she's loving this history. Okay, I had a quick question for you. Speaking of cadence and beats, as a musician, I ask every guest, their favorite album of all time. But you being a musician, it's probably so many albums. But if you could just give us, if you could say your favorite favorite band of all time, what would you say?
Whew. probably the John Coltrane Quartet. Favorite album, it would be probably Les McCann, Invitation to Openness, or Donald Byrd, Electric Bird. These are just monumental work, masterpieces, you know. And but Train, man, Train, he do the John Coltrane, McCoy Tyner, Jimmy Garrison, and Roy Haynes. Roy Haynes on drums, Jimmy Garrison on bass, McCoy Tyner on piano. And he's a big influence on me on the piano, and of course Train on the saxophone. And Les McCann, he was just a wonderful piano player, but he sang too. And then I don't know if you know about Dr. Donald Byrd.
No,
he was
sir.
from Howard. He was up in the Howard, DC area. The Blackbirds, you up to the Blackbirds, right?
No, sir, I'm not familiar with them.
Well, y'all, I'm just.
I've heard of the Birds.
No, but this is musicology.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
I did a workshop at Savior's Day many years ago on the origins of Black music. You know, the musicology, and if we understood more about the roots of our music, I think that our music would even get better. Or people, especially people like yourself who are younger and were not, so like if, I know you heard Marvin Gaye, Mother, Mother, you know what I mean? All that, see now, if you can get a feel for what was going on among Black people at that time, it's much easier to recreate and synchronize yourself up with the vibe of that music. Because it's a couple of things in there. You know, you got that conga beat. Boom, boom, bow, boom, boom, ba-da, ba-doom, boom, bow, boom, boom, ba-da. Then you got the bass line. Boom, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. You know what I mean? Got all of that stuff, that synergy working together, and all of the elements, coming together, and that spirit, that oneness, which is, it's much harder nowadays because musicians nowadays is just all about them. It's not so much about the group anymore, And for as groups, singing groups, to me, the Temptations, and I'm not going to get into this thing about they the greatest of all time. Hell, it ain't no such thing as no greatest of all time. I mean, to me, that's just my thing. For me, nobody has made the type of impact on me overall as a group as the Temptations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now that's for me. So now, if you didn't come up during that time, you can't really judge them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's like I can't judge Jay-Z or whatever the case. That's not really my music. I respect that music. Now, I have a unique perspective on music because I have been a recording engineer since 1984. I remember when the Sugar Hill Gang came out with the Rapper's Delight around 1978. Matter of fact, we used to play it. We had a trio, a jazz trio, and we actually played Rapper's Delight. We didn't do the rap part of it, but we thought we played it almost like a fad. Because you had during that time, a few years before that, there was a comedian by the name of Pig Meat. They call him Pig Meat Markham. You ever heard of him?
No, sir, I'm not familiar.
Man, YouTube that. YouTube, Google him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Pig Meat Markham, Markham. Pig meat, you know, like hog meat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he had a song that came out on the radio. Every once in a while, you would get these novelty songs. And he had a song called Here Come the Judge. And this was back in the early 70s, but he said, hear ye, the courts and swing. I'm just about ready to do that thing. I don't want no jive, don't want no money. You know what I mean? It was a rap, that was rap, man. You follow what I'm saying? And then so later, what happened, even before the Sugar Hill Gang, that's what the DJs used to do when they was at a party. They would start rapping to the beat. You follow what I'm saying? And so Sugar Hill Gang, they was the first to actually record that and try to make a record out of it. And of course, the rest is history.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But coming from that perspective, being a recording engineer, I saw all of that stuff develop. And I saw with hip hop and rap music, for the first time, I started seeing young Black people writing something, man. I'm just saying, before that, Negroes wasn't writing nothing. So now you got, and see, part of my studies in college, I studied linguistics, study of language. And so when I began to see the mental exercises that were being performed and the sharpening of the brain, as well as the sharpening of the mind. And the brain and the mind are two different things. See, the brain, you got the brain, the mind, and you got the soul. But that's a subject maybe for another time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But so I began to see the evolution of our young people and how this genre of music was catapulting and propelling them to a higher level of understanding of language. You follow what I'm saying? Metaphors, similes, you see. And me coming from a family of educators, my mother was a teacher, my grandmother, in the second grade, I was in my mother's room. The third grade, I was in my aunt's room. The fourth grade, I was in my grandmother's room. And my father he taught agriculture and industrial arts. So I'm just saying, I come from a family of educators.
Yes, sir.
So I'm very sensitive to that, and so I hip hop has been very, very good from that standpoint. The only thing that I got with hip hop is that the music is dumbed down from a serious formally. I'm self-trained and I'm also formally trained.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying? And I ain't trying to make nobody mad, but I'm just telling you, like Brother Shaka would tell you. Brother Shaka would tell you like it is, brother. And so the thing, that's the only knock I got on hip hop music is the beats are just, anybody could do these beats. Seems like from a skill level. Now I do recognize that there is a certain amount of genius in the way that they configure the different elements. But as far as being a musician and developing skills, I would like to see, the background music of hip hop achieve a higher level of musical sophistication.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Because most of that stuff, man, to me, well, I ain't gonna say most, but a lot of it, because I know like the Jay-Z stuff and some of the Outkast stuff. You know, I can kind of get with a lot of it. You follow what I'm saying? But some of that stuff, man, is just it just doesn't appeal to somebody with a musical palette.
Oh no, yes, sir. I understand. But I was gonna ask you, bro, Minister. A lot of people say that I have the falsetto voice of a Eddie Kendricks, a lead singer voice of David Ruffin, a baritone of a Paul Williams, or blue of a blue. Would you agree or no? I'm just messing with you.
Hey, I was about to say, damn, man, you got all of that? You got Eddie Kendricks there. Now you gonna drop down to baritone? I said, man, what, brother? What? I've been asleep. I was really asleep. All of this Islam, I'm still.
Yes, sir. Okay. Now, Brother Baatin, you performed on the People's Podcast, and we've been greatly appreciative of your live music. We have that on YouTube. Where can we go to hear some of your music online?
Well, I got some stuff. You can go to Spotify, even though they got me mixed up with this rapper from Slum Village.
Okay.
Called Baatin. Baatin is how it's mine. I pronounce my name a little different. But Amazon.com, what Baatin.com. If you would go to Baatin.com, leave your email address or contact information. I'm gonna start offering my music direct to the people as opposed to Spotify. Because just like India Ari was saying, you know, the artists don't get no money. You know what I mean? You got to have 1 million spins before you can get any money. And if I sell a CD for $10, or if I sell a digital download of one of my CDs for $5, then I'll make more money, you know, and then you just getting a whole lot of more justice. You know, you're not really being used, but that's what I'm intending on doing. And of course, I have several different offerings. I have one offering called Muslim Praise and Worship, which it's sort of like a jazz / R&B contemporary gospel, even where we do the Shahada, La ilaha illallah, you know, and what it does, it's akin to the zikkering is what they call it. I do have somewhat of a list, but I'm not doing it intentionally. You know, zikkering. You know, so you know, where you meditate, there is no God but Allah, and then it kind of even goes back down to the church when you're in the church, when the church saying,
Yes, sir.
Baptist preacher. You know, you can tell my granddaddy was on my father's side was a Baptist preacher.
Yes, sir.
And the other one, and on my mother's side, was a violinist. So I get a few chops, and I you know, I have a cousin that most people know. Now I've never met her, but when I was at a family reunion, I said, man, what is Patti LaBelle doing in this book? And then so my uncle said, that's your cousin. Her great grandmother and my great granddaddy was brothers and sisters. So I have a little music, you know, genetically.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As
Yes,
well,
sir.
you know, and it's the whole thing is interesting too, because even when you talk about the thing about P-Funk, well, I never played with George Clinton. See, now, if you understand, if you have to really look at the overall scope of Funkadelic. Funkadelic was started back in the 60s.
Okay. Okay.
They had a song called "I Want to Testify," and it was called and it was by the Parliaments. The Parliaments was a doo-wop group consisting of George Clinton, Fuzzy Haskins, Calvin Simon, Ray Davis, and Grady Thomas. All right, so around the late part, so they had that that "I Want to Testify."
Yes, sir.
And then they went ahead and they came up with the first Funkadelic record around 69, 70. They had the song called "What Is Soul?" It said, "Soul is ham hocks and your cornflakes." You know, and so from that it developed, and so around the mid to late 70s, the Parliaments fell out with George because they did not feel like they were getting their due in terms of the royalties and stuff. So they split up. All right. And so around the latter part of 1997, 1998, the record company, Westbound Records, Armand Palladium, the owner of the record company, they was in a suit with George Clinton and all them. It was a big mess. And so he financed the Parliament getting another version, because you know, like most of these groups today, like Earth, Wind, and Fire. If you go to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, it's only 3 people from the original band that's on the stage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? So at least what we had all of the Parliaments minus George, and we was doing all of the music that, you know, that they were squabbling over and all of this stuff like that. So that was my affiliation with them. I met them in the studio. A friend of mine, guitar player Billy Mims, Allah be pleased with him, he brought me in to play saxophone. And while we was in there, when I was doing this, so, you know, they was telling me, so he said, I want you to play me something like Maceo Parker. You know, Maceo Parker was, you know, that's James Brown.
Oh, yes, sir. I know Maceo.
And Maceo was my man growing up, right? And so while we was in there, I was telling them, I said, man, you know, this is a real trip, man, to meeting you guys, because when I was in college, I was studying sociology, but I was studying a branch of sociology. What I was concentrating on then, they call it musicology now. They didn't have musicology back when I was in college. And I was telling them, I said, well, I did a paper on you guys, and I explained to them what the paper was. It was about America Eats Its Young. That was the P-Funk, the Parliament album that had the big picture of the dollar bill on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
It was talking about how the music business sells out for commercialism, you know. So I was just telling them all that stuff. And so we automatically just kind of hit it off. Next thing I know, they was in my studio. So I was recording. And so they so over a period of 6, 7 months, they come over every day, and we'd be recording. And so they would need a guitar part here, a saxophone part there, piano part there. And so I was always there to do it, right? So by the time we finished the record, they said, well, man, we going on the road, man. Won't you go on the road with us? And so I just found it hard to resist, because I had denied myself a couple of chances of going on the road because I was a single parent. See, back in the early 90s, I could have went to Europe and did some things, but I had my oldest son, Rashid, and I wasn't about to leave my boy with nobody, you know what I mean? And so, but Rashid, at that point, Rashid was out of the house, you know what I mean? Which incidentally, I very proudly say, Rashid just got hired as a manager, as a senior manager with Microsoft. And yeah, man, I'm so proud of him. And that just makes me even more proud that I stayed, I stuck to my guns. And so anyway, Rashid was out the house.
That's beautiful.
And so I went on the road with the P. And I'm telling you, man, that thing, man, that was a phenomenon. And I mean, that music was so powerful, Brother Josh, that I'm telling you, man, we had some nights that these folks, I mean, white folks, all kind of folks, these people was jamming so hard, brother, I thought they were gonna hurt themselves. And we did a thing called the Stone Soul Picnic up at RFK Stadium up in DC.
Okay.
That was an estimated 75,000 people. I'd never seen that many people other than the Million Man March. That's the second largest crowd I've seen. And so yeah, it was a real gas, man, because Allah just blessed me. He blessed me with them, and he blessed me to have a prominent part on that show. That I had, I had flute solos. I played the flute solos at the beginning of Maggot, the beginning of Maggot Brain. Then I stopped, got off the flute. I jumped on. I did a synthesizer solo, and then I played my. I'm in my heart. I'm a rocker on the guitar.
Yes, sir.
I always have love. Jimi Hendrix is my main influence, and I actually do a Jimi Hendrix tribute as well. And so, man, the P was just maybe sometime when we come back or whatever, and it could do maybe a musicology thing. I've got some footage of me with the P.
I would love that.
Doing all of that stuff, man. And all of my friends, man, they couldn't believe it. But it was a wonderful thing. And so I know you'd asked me something about Otis. When I was at Mercer University in the mid-70s, my roommate worked at the booking. Otis's widow, Zelma, had a booking agency, and my roommate worked in the agency. And so Zelma, Otis's ex-widow, she was looking for somebody to teach Otis and his older brother, Dexter. And so my roommate said, well, man, I got just the person for you. And so they introduced me to Otis. And see, I'm left-handed and Otis is left-handed. And when I met Otis, he didn't even know how to change the strings on his guitar. I taught him how to change the string And you may be familiar, they had a group called the Reddings. A group called the Reddings that came out around the latter part of the 70s. And I actually was supposed to be the producer of that record, but I couldn't see eye to eye with the executive producer. I think his name was Russell Timmons or something. Well, not Russell Simmons, Russell Timmons.
Yes, sir.
And because I wanted to do message songs with a message. And he was like, man, that stuff don't sell. And so we couldn't see it. So I kind of I missed out on that particular thing. But that's my thing with the Reddit. And so Otis now, when he does a show now, he brings me on and he lets me do my thing. And he always acknowledges, which I'm thankful to Allah, he acknowledges, who taught him how to play. And so it's just, it's been a blessed, hidden life. And, that's what my name means. Baatin is one who is aware of hidden things.
Oh, praise Allah.
And so it's sort of, I've done a lot of great things by Allah's grace, but they all been hidden.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like you said, you didn't know nothing about all of this stuff. All this stuff is hidden, but maybe one day Allah will let these things be known. If He does or if He doesn't, I'm thankful to Allah. Excuse me, getting a little dry mouth here.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But,
I understand. I got mine with me right here, my water and my juice.
Yeah. So, but yeah, man. Then the minister's been he's heard my music, and that's one thing too about the minister. Boy, I remember one time we was in Atlanta, and so this was back around '84 when we first began to have the power products. You remember the power products?
I'm familiar.
People organized and working for economic rebirth.
Yes, sir.
And so I had come up with what I thought might be a good theme song. And we was in there. We was in the hotel room. So I had my little boom box. Back in the 80s, you had the boom box.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so I put it on, and then I had this other song that I had worked on. It was on the tape. And so I hit the thing. I didn't have it queued up, so you heard a little bit of the other thing. So the minister, he looked at me because he's so sharp. He said, yeah, that's just a little tease there,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I was like, I said, man, this man don't miss, he don't miss anything.
Yes, sir.
And so brother Master Musa.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was saying, man, that the minister, it's a trip. You think that the minister don't think nothing else of it. And then, but Master Musa was saying, man, that he was talking about the minister was talking about that in Saudi Arabia. And so I'm just saying all that to say is that don't never think that the minister is not aware. The minister is much more aware of everybody than we probably think that he is.
Yes, sir.
And so that, to me, that was a highlight, just to have acknowledgement from the minister. And in 2000, when I did my first CD, Sunday Brunch, and the minister told me, he said, well, brother, I want you to have your music. I want your music to be all over the world. And so it has me, I did, like I said, that's another sleeper. I did Sunday Brunch, and I spent about $40,000 between the pressing and publicity and got ripped off by a couple publicity promotional people. But I made all that money back and then some, you know, and so Allah is what, you know, the minister told me too. He said, brother, Allah he doesn't waste the work of any worker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And like the minister, you know, I put my music to the side to help him. Well, not just to help him, I knew it was to help me too. It was the best thing that I could have done, you know, for myself. And now I just, you know, if I had gone full blown or with a full head of steam into music, I would not have the perspective that I have now, which is worth so much more than just being able to play a few notes, you know. But since I made that sacrifice, man, I can tell you something about some music now, you know, based on the supreme wisdom.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? That can't nobody tell you and articulate the reality of Black music, you know, nowadays, because we understand the very root of God and the very essence and the finest fibers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of the soul of Black people that produce this wonderful art form, you see. And like I say, when you start talking about musicology, and then you think about this thing they call the invisible church, and all of this stuff is so deep, brother. Our history is so rich. And the thing about it is that most of the people that have explored our history, our musical history, they still deaf, dumb, and blind to the essence of what made the music so powerful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so we are the only ones, the followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We're the only ones, brother, that can really bring this thing out in a way where it can truly be seen for what it is.
All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. And Brother Baatin, so many people have shown you love, and we got to bring you back for a part 2, Brother Baatin, please, if you will. And we miss you, and we miss you your music. We got to get your music back as well.
Yeah, I gotta. I'm working on a few things now, you know, and Brother Sultan and myself, we getting ready to collaborate on some things that good. Because Sultan, man, he's the first Muslim musician that I really knew. And that brother just so cool. The brother just so naturally cool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are cool and they try to act cool, but this brother is cool and he ain't acting.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, I mean, and I have learned so much from him. That's my big brother.
Oh,
and so yes, sir. So I would be honored. You know, maybe we can just sort of plan what we do. I can get some of my footage, and but I think that we really need to understand something as a people, especially maybe even as hip hop artists. See, if you know a little bit more about the root, the fundamentals of this music, you follow what I'm saying, then it may inspire you on a different level. You know, you may have, see, when you get the roots, see, in music, you have this thing when you play a note, that ba, So you hearing the fundamental note.
Yes, sir.
But embedded in the fundamental note, there are several what you call harmonics and partials.
Yes, sir.
That you hear at the same time. But the fundamental tone is the dominant tone, so you don't hear readily the fundamental. If you got a real sharp ear, you can hear it. You follow what I'm saying? But see, when you begin to explore these very basic aspects of not only music, of really everything, then all of the higher knowledge is embedded in the fundamentals. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great. Well, I want to thank you, Brother Baatin, Brother Minister Baatin, and thank everybody who's watched tonight. Some people are showing you love. I'm going to put it on YouTube. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off of the People's Podcast. Thank you again, sir.
Oh man, my absolute pleasure, brother.
Yes, sir. This has been an honor and a privilege.